Short films, I love them, you love them, that's why we make them. And this here is a breakdown of the numbers that we have managed to raise for our new short film. That is $47,372 or £36,512. It's a huge amount of money for a short film. Technically not enough, but yeah, I've come from making £500 films, £600 films, £200 films. The most I've ever had for a short narrative film is £2,000 that I paid for myself. I've never received money to make a short film, never had a commission, anything like that until now. And this is not all a commission. This is 6 different ways, 6 different areas or routes that we've taken to get to this number. So I'm going to break it down for you, walk you through how we did everything, try and leave you some useful links down below, so have a look at that. If you have any questions, just drop me a comment, but let's get into it. Let me just give you the top figures of every different area, because there's 6 main areas that we managed to get this money from. So the film fund, first one, £15,000. We did crowdfunding, of course, and crowdfunding, we managed to raise £7,473. We actually raised a bit more than this, but I'm splitting this into 2 categories, because that second category is services. And services, we raised £1,800, £1,800. Brand partnerships, we managed to get 3 brand partnerships with a total of £8,350, which I'm very excited about. We got a direct sponsorship of £889, and there was a uni funding pot which managed to get £3,000 from. So the first one, film funds, right? So we've all probably applied for a film fund and not got anywhere, or been a bit overwhelmed by what they're actually after. Having gone through it, done it, and understood what they're looking for, these are the things that if you want to secure a film fund, you need to have. Number one, pretty obvious, a good script. But what's important here is to understand a good idea with good characters is what they're after. If the script isn't perfect, that tends to be okay, because at least on the film fund I have, you have a long time of development where they want to support and help nurture that idea. So you have to be really receptive to feedback and collaboration, and definitely worth it. The process has made the story far better in my mind. So of course the script has to be formatted right, it has to be free of typos and things like that. But really, the version that I submitted for the film fund is far weaker than the version I have now. In fact, it's quite different in a lot of ways. The characters are the same, the overarching arc is the same, but scenes have changed, various tones and conversations and things have changed. So a good script with great characters and a really strong idea is better than a really well written script that doesn't have the best characters, if that makes sense. And when I'm talking about great characters, I'm talking about characters that we maybe haven't seen represented on screen before. They want a strong pitch deck. So pitch deck is where you submit, it's like a presentation, PowerPoint, PDF thing, in which you kind of break down all the key things of your story. So this is the world that it lives in. It's the synopsis of the story. And with a pitch deck, you're not trying to hide things, right? Often people try and make it like a teaser. When people are trying to give you money, they need to know what happens. Put the ending in there. So the full story, they'll want a director's statement, a bit about you. They will want an idea of who you're going to cast, who you're going to put on your crew. So if you've got like a really strong DP, then it's great to add that in there. They'll want to see your festival plan, or your how you plan to get this seen by a wider audience. If you have any named actors, now's a really great time to throw their name in there. Sometimes they want a budget breakdown. Doesn't always sit within the pitch deck though. It might be a separate document they've asked you to complete. And some sort of vision, mood board, reel, something like that. If you want to have a stronger grasp on pitch decks, I've actually got a Skillshare class either out or coming out very soon. So have a look on that, because I'm also in that getting into how to do a commercial pitch deck, which is a little bit different. And same with the documentary. A commercial pitch deck is more about the look, I would suggest. A narrative one is very much about the story. and a documentary one tends to be more about the access, proving that you have those connections inbuilt. The third thing that they will definitely want to see is a strong connection with a producer. I know a lot of directors out there were like, I don't have a producer, I don't know how to connect with a producer. My advice is don't try and attach a producer for a project. Try and find a producer you connect with on a ethical level, a principles level, a way of working, a film appreciation. You want to have a relationship with a producer based on mutual respect and friendship, because you're going to face a really tough time working with a producer on a project when you don't have that relationship established. And funding bodies do care. They will ask, okay, well, what have you done before together? How long have you known each other? So don't have a project and try and attach a producer to the project. Go and try and find producers and just connect and network. And then when the right project comes along, you can invite them onto it. They'll often want a regional story. So depending on the film fund, it might be very clear that they're looking for something in an area or genre. But even if it's not, generally speaking, the more regional a story is, the stronger appeal it has, because it feels a bit different. It feels more nuanced to you as a writer, and it stands out. If you have any strong links with organizations, charities, people who are already somewhat invested in your project, whether it's just in terms of supporting it through advice, you can add their logo to a pitch deck. It is going to increase the professionalism and the readiness of your pitch. And the final thing is a really strong why. Why are you making this film? So for us, for Greengrass, we're making it with a split of deaf and hearing crew to try and improve access behind the camera. And the story evolves around two different deaf characters with different experiences within the university sector. I'm trying to bring awareness to a bit of a problem, and at the same time try and educate hearing audiences about some of the misconceptions that we have. But the reason that it's really important to me that we do this with deaf crew, not just deaf cast, is I don't want to preach about a community I'm not technically part of. I want to work with that community to help provide new opportunities. If you do all those things, you're going to have a stronger chance of getting that film fund. Just make sure you're paying attention to the deadlines, the fees, all the requirements they ask. Inevitably, they'll ask for like a director's bio and some sort of 500-word description of the project, things like that. I actually find writing a director's bio incredibly tough. So this is the one time I use ChatGPT. To be honest, I'm not like really into AI stuff for me. I mean, totally understand why people are, but it's the one time I go, okay, here's all the things that I've done. Write me some sort of bio, and I'll take that and I'll rewrite it and I will improve it. It just gets me from that blank page of feeling awkward about myself. Right, so what next? The crowdfunding. Okay, so what people always do with crowdfunding is they make a really boring piece to camera as their video, and they offer things like a signed poster or a ticket to a screening. These are just not great ways to sell an idea, because A, you're meant to be a storyteller, you're meant to be a filmmaker, and you're just doing a piece to camera. It's not very engaging. And B, who really wants your signed poster? No offense, but I mean, I'm talking for myself here. I don't think anyone wants a signed poster from me, so I'm not offering that. And 3, if you do things where it is like, okay, get a ticket to a screening event, the numbers might not add up, because you might then end up having to put on a screening for like 10 people that's going to cost you more money than if you just done something else. So there's 3 really important things to consider when you're doing a crowdfunding. The first one, a creative video, right? You want something that does capture people. And if you watch the crowdfunder that we made, it will be on my YouTube somewhere. If you pay attention, you will find a classical story structure in there. There's an inciting incident, there's an accepting the call, fun and games, midpoint, dark night of the soul. There's all those classic beats of a story within there. And our crowdfunding video, it got 8,000 views on Instagram in the first week or something, which was shared massively by loads of my uni students, which was great, and lots of my friends and my family. And it really did get us a very quick, within the first week or so, we'd really picked up the numbers to quite a strong percentage of our target goal, which was incredible. And it showed people, I had people reaching out saying, that's the best crowdfunding video I've ever seen. It's actually, I'm going to donate, I'm going to give you some money because it looks like a great project. I can see the creativity in this, then how good is the creativity of the actual project going to be? The second thing is when you're doing your rewards, it's all about value exchange, right? If you go and walked into a clothes shop, you wouldn't just give them £20 unless you were getting a t-shirt in return. What value can you give back? A signed poster is probably not valuable to someone. So what we decided to do, which was a hell of a lot of work, was create a lot of video courses on things like directing actors, script consultation, script analysis, cinematography. We built all these courses because people might actually want that. So I ended up having some of my students and some students from other universities giving us £100 because they wanted these video courses. We had people who I'd never heard of purchasing these things because they were like, that sounds really useful. When you can offer value in an exchange, you're going to get more return. And this meant that we did hit our target. We actually hit it before the deadline. And we raised more than 7,473. But the reason I've kind of split this is of our crowdfunding target, of our rewards, we had script consultation, and we also had a reduced DOP rate as some of these rewards. And people took us up on that. And these are actually services, right? So I went out to brands and production companies that I know and said, if you want to reserve a day of me being a DP for you with all my kit at a 50% rate, all you got to do is put it into the crowdfunder instead. And we had one brand that was really, really interested. They just dragged their feet a bit. But we did have one production company go, great, I'll take you up on that. So £400 came from a company purchasing a reduced DP rate. Then we had another 400 come in through script analysis, script consultation. And McKenna, the producer, did one-to-ones in producing. So even more than this number was really services. Rather than it being like, okay, you purchase this thing and here is your reward. It's you purchase this thing, now let's book a time to do this thing together. They seem to be really popular. Yes, it does mean that you need to factor in the time that this is going to add on, but well worth it in my mind. And off the back of that, I had someone who I did a script consultation for. They loved it and appreciated it so much, they've come back and asked me to consult on a feature film. So I'm now doing that, a feature script, that is. That's also going to go into the film fund, and I've actually really enjoyed it. So it's making me question, maybe I actually want to do a lot more script consultation. So check out my website if you're interested. So that's £800, and about 1,000 extra came from these online workshops we did. So McKenna and I did a bunch of courses with the Essex Film Collective. This was amazing because it actually gave us a chance to test some of these ideas we'd had that we were nervous to do. So I ran a course on how to go freelance, McKenna ran a course on producing, and together we ran a course on how to apply for film funds. We raised about £1,000 through that. So the crowdfunding and the services combined, you're looking at 9,273, I think, which is amazing, right? Nearly 10 grand from those two things. McKenna actually runs a crowdfunding workshop course thing. If you follow her on Instagram at The Movie Method there, you can find out more about that. And because she gets more into how to build a timeline of your crowdfunding campaign. There's a lot more to it than what I'm saying. These are the key basic things, right? All of these areas, we could get into way more detail, but the overview is value exchange, really creative video, and a really clear timeline. Moving on, the University Fund 3,000. This is a bit niche, I will admit. Universities have a lot of researching funds available. Within university, research, you might think of research like medical research, but if you're a film teacher or an arts teacher, you can see your art as research, especially in our case at Greengrass, where we are working with sustainability organizations, deaf inclusive organizations. There's a huge amount of research and data we can draw off the back of this. Now, the caveat is it's a bit awkward because they don't just give you the money. You have to submit invoices to the uni, then they pay it. Maybe you're not in university, but you might have the opportunity to partner up with a lecturer. So a lot of these research funds is meant to be someone within the industry and someone who's an academic researcher. So if you can build the right relationship with the right person from a university, they might be able to submit for these applications with you. And depending how it is, maybe they're a writer or a producer, or there's some sort of research data behind your film. The key thing when you do go for those funds is you have to have a lot of evidence to back up what you're claiming. Just have a little look. Have a look at your local uni, their film department, and see who's there, what benefit there might be from trying to form a relationship. Right, so brand partnerships. This is probably the one that is most elusive, right? You're probably like, how the hell do you get brands on board for a short film? And your first thought might be product placement. That is a way. It's not a way that we've done it, but it is a way. So brand partnerships, you need to think of 3 different stages, and within each stage, 3 different things to think about. So the first stage is to identify which brands are you going to approach. The way to decide that is you look at the themes of your film, you look at the people involved, and you look at the process of how you're making it. So the themes of your film, for us, sustainability and deaf inclusivity. The brands that fit this that we've approached would be Project Seagrass, who are our advisory organization. So they haven't submitted any funds, but they have offered a lot of access, a lot of support, and information that's really helpful. And off the back of that, some of their staff have donated to our crowdfunder. Thank you. Now, with sign language being a major theme in our film, we approached Lingvano. And Lingvano are a BSL learning app. They are incredible. I'll leave a link below. It's basically Duolingo, but for BSL and ASL, American Sign Language, and I believe Austrian Sign Language. They've come on board and have been so helpful, so encouraging, and they're giving us, every crew member on our team has access to learn BSL through Lingvano throughout the pre-production and production of our film. And that ties in to process as well. So because we want to make this with half deaf, half hearing crew, we have had a lot of conversations about how we're going to have communication. Now, there's another organization who are providing the interpreters and a film fund. I'm not going to mention who they are just yet, just because we're still finalizing a bit of paperwork and things. But they've come on board, again, because of this process, as well as me having a role in a university. That's a sector they want to get into. So I can start making introductions. Which leads me on to the third thing to consider, the people. So with people, I have a really strong relationship with Skillshare. I teach on there, I'm a top teacher, I get on really well with all the staff there, they're a really great bunch. And I approached them and said, look, here's what we're wanting to do. I really love you guys. You've been such an amazing, supportive organization for me. Is it something you're interested in being involved in? And they came back and were like, yes, please. And with all of these brands, none of them funded us the number that we were hoping for, but all of them have funded us something immensely invaluable and really, really game-changing in terms of just being able to facilitate certain things in our film. So looking at the process, the people, and the theme of your film, you can identify who you want to approach. The next thing is to prepare the approach. For that, you're going to want stats and evidence and the right person. So how much of a return on investment can you get them through numbers? And return on investment can be money or it could be awareness. So money, here's an example. We are going to go talk at 10 universities. We're hoping to see 100 students at each. So that's 1,000 students. If 10% of them were to buy Skillshare membership, for example, then you will actually make a return on investment, depending if you give us this amount of money. In terms of awareness, you go to a film festival we're planning to get into these 30 film festivals. If they screen in an average size cinema seater of 150 seats, that's 30 times 150, 4,500 filmmakers, people that are going to see your logo at the end of our film. So you use data and numbers, and then you provide evidence, right? What evidence do you have that you have these connections, that you have these possibilities? So that might mean we have this actor on board and this actor's up here, which means we're more likely to get into this festival. So you find bits of evidence. And then you find the right person. Don't just email a company at like office@company or info@company.com. You need to find the right person, which is where LinkedIn comes in, or sometimes their website or Twitter. And you're looking for someone within that partnership, growth, marketing world that looks like the best fit. Once you find that person, you can find their email. It might take some work, but you can often always find it somehow. Or you can call and ask for them. There are ways to find that person, and the goal is to get them on a video call. If you get them on a video call, you can really start to build that relationship. For me, I had a great relationship with Skillshare already. Lingvano, McKenna found the right person, and they've been incredible. This third company, we set up a video call, had a great call with them, and next week we've got a call with another company. It's a tech company, not for financial support, but we actually want to borrow one of their products, which I will say more about, or you will see more about in the behind the scenes if we get that through. So that's how you prepare the approach. And then when you approach them, you need to think about the tone, the method, and the clarity. So what is the best way to approach them? We've been emailing them, and that's worked fine. Phone calls are a good way as well, just to get a soft intro. But we've been emailing them because we have some really good supporting documents we can send. And with that, our tone has been try to keep it short on the first email, but with enough detail to really make it clear that you are already in a really strong position, and with a really friendly tone and completely understanding. If they can't, if they're not interested, that's fine. And if they can only offer different sorts of support, again, we're really grateful for any help, and we're really about celebrating what they do. It's not just about what they give us, it's what we can give them, because they are awesome. And the third bit of the approach is clarity. Be really clear with what you're asking for. The first time I approached Skillshare, they didn't quite understand what I was actually asking for. And when I reread my email, I was like, even I'm not sure what I'm asking for there. So clarity is massive. And finally, we had a direct sponsorship of £889. And what I mean by that is someone outside of the crowdfunding campaign has offered to give us that money. And the reason it's that specific number is something that I have come to understand is when you just say, can you give us £5,000, but you're not breaking down what that £5,000 can do, it's less appealing. And this is something that charities know really well. It's why when you get a flyer through, it's for every pound you donate, 80 pence of that goes to here, 10% goes here, blah, blah, blah. So for us, and you can see this on the crowdfunding page as well, we made it very clear that £889 is the cost of having a crew member there for the week. And what that means is if you donate £889, you are directly funding an opportunity for a deaf filmmaker to be on this set. And that's ownership then. So we can celebrate that and say, this opportunity, this person, this crew member is here because of you. And that in itself, I think, is a really good approach to make it more celebratory, right? It gives that person an opportunity to feel really good about themselves and know exactly where their money's gone. So it pays, quite literally, to be a bit more specific about your numbers and offer ways in which people can celebrate their contribution. So there's a film fund, crowdfunding, services, sponsorship, brand partnerships, and a university research fund. All of that has come together to get us to £36,512 or $47,372, and it's growing a little bit still. Even so though, just to make you aware, even though this sounds like a lot, the moment you start paying people, because when you make a short film zero budget, you generally don't really pay for people's time. This budget is so small still, And it sounds ridiculous. And I would have gone, yeah, I'll bite your hand off for that budget to make a short film. But we're on a 6-day shoot. We have the cost of all the crew and the cast and the accommodation for all those people for 6 days, the food for 6 days. Our actual budget, when you take away people's pay, their food and accommodation, we're left with £150 per location, barely anything. We've only got £500 put aside for kit. Luckily, I have access to a lot of kit. I say luckily, it's because I've worked hard and bought a lot over the years, but there is still a very small number for hiring in specialist bits of kit. And as you probably are aware, renting film equipment is not cheap. Our production design budget is again only £500, which for a film of this scale is really not much. And to put it in perspective, every film I've made up until now, I've never had a production designer. I've never had all this crew that we have here. And even so, it's not like I'm just bringing on people for no reason. This is the smallest crew available that we can really get away with. Because on top of all of this, we also have the cost of interpreters, of BSL consultants and deaf consultants, of deaf awareness training. This is realistically a very, very tight budget. So what I'm getting at is, don't be fooled by the numbers if you're going to start paying people as you should be. We're only paying London living minimum wage, whatever that works out to be. And even then, we are so tight. We are beyond tight. I would love to be paying commercial rates for people, but I simply can't. Otherwise, this project doesn't happen. So yeah, so that is how you raise £36,512 for a short film. And that's also why it's probably not enough. But we don't make films for the money. We make films because we love making films. And if we can pay people at least the bare minimum and look after them and make something we're proud of, what more could you want? All right. If you found that helpful, subscribe, like, share, drop me a comment, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Green Grass is going into production end of August. So if you're watching this before then, sorry that I fall off the face of the planet. But after then, I'll catch up. Right. Have a good one.